Hi everybody, and welcome to this little corner of the internet and to my very first YouTube video.
We have reached a milestone. We have reached 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 community members, 1,300 people to be exact, and I cannot process it. I still have not fully processed this. When I try to imagine 1,300 people, I just can't. My brain cannot process that image, and I just don't know how this happened. Now, what is a better way to strengthen a community than getting to know each other a little bit better, a little bit more? And I promise you guys that we will celebrate with a Q&A, and you guys left me a bunch of questions that I will be answering in today's video while I am doing my skincare and a little bit of makeup and just in general getting ready for the day. You guys can ask me more questions and I will try my best to answer them in the comments down below, or maybe, just maybe, I can do another Q&A in the future. But before we get to the questions of today's video, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you all. Thank you for your support, your likes, and your kind comments. I just want you to know that I do not take you granted, and I do not take the time that you invest into this channel, into this community granted. I was very afraid when I started this channel because I felt that I wasn't good enough to do this, and sometimes I still don't feel good enough to do this, and I know that I have room to improve myself and to improve this channel, but you guys give me a platform and you guys make me feel that sometimes my completely nonsense personality and the videos that I create have a space on the internet, and that is just something that I am eternally grateful for. But now I am getting a little bit emotional, so let's just get to the questions. The questions that I divided into bookish and personal questions, and we will start with the bookish questions. And before I get to the first one, I think I will just put a face mask on and I will be marinating in this thing while I am answering your questions. Which one to go for? Which one to go for? This is the one that I always use. This is by one of my favorite Korean brands, Beauty of Joseon. But for Christmas, I got myself a couple of fancy skincare. And I think that today I will try a new face masks by Fenty Skin. I never used anything by Fenty Skin. I had a couple of products by Fenty Beauty, but never Fenty Skin. So let's do that. This is a cherry. Ooh, it smells good. It smells like the cocktail cherries. All right, let's try this today. Oh, wow. Guys, I am a skincare junkie. Like, seriously, most of my disposable income goes towards skincare. I just love it so much. So, but you hear me talking about skincare in my videos all the time, well, specifically in my vlogs all the time, so probably this is not that surprising to you. Well, all right, the first bookish question. I am looking at my phone because I have the questions there. A favorite book that you would recommend everybody to read? Well, my favorite book of all times, my number one book of all times, is The Wanderer by Peter von den Ende. And this is actually a silent book meaning that the story is narrated exclusively through images. And this is the book that I would recommend everybody to read because of this, because the story is narrated through images and it relies on you and your unique life experiences and emotions to build the story, to craft the story in your mind. And because of that, I feel that although the book is the same and the images are the same, there are thousands of different variations of this book and this story out there. And this is just a concept that I find very fascinating. Now, in terms of the story or the pictures, I should say, I don't want to say too much about it because again, this is a story that you should build for yourself. But the story starts out, the book starts out with the creation of a little paper boat that the creators set out on the ocean. Now you guys tell me, what is your favorite book? What is the book that you would recommend everybody to read? Next question, do you keep a reading journal? No, I don't have one. I want to start one every single year, but who are we kidding? Like, who are we kidding? I sometimes do not even log my books on Goodreads, and let's face it, it's not very difficult, but I still don't do it. I am so bad even with managing Goodreads that I don't think that I could or I should keep a proper reading journal. Now, speaking of Goodreads, you can follow me there. My username is thepetitereader, but just fair warning, I'm not really good with that platform because, again, I don't really log the books. Eventually, I log the books, every single book that I read, I just don't do them in time. You know, I know that a lot of people are against Goodreads because of the different features and because of Amazon and because of the Goodreads Choice Awards, and many people are going to Storygraph or Fable. I do not have those accounts. What accounts do you guys have? Are you using Goodreads, Storygraph, Fable, Notion, or even something else that I do not know about? Well, I am still using Goodreads, but I don't rate my books there. I don't review books there. I am really selling it. Am I not? Oh, wow. Anyways, probably the most important tab that I use in Goodreads is my TBR, because it's like usually 200 to 400 books long. I never read 200 to 400 books, like that's just never going to happen. But nonetheless, I just like to keep a tab on the books that I want to read in Goodreads. I just find it very useful. I have been using it for years, and it is kind of like the bookish accountant part of my brain. You guys let me know, what is the platform that you use? What are the platforms that you like and you would recommend to me? Okay, next question. What is your favorite book genre? Now, before I say anything, don't get me wrong. You guys know that I read a lot of genres. Probably, like, I don't read dark romance and true crime. I sample those genres. They don't really tend to work with me. So now I just, don't pick those type of books up. I read everything other than those genres, but definitely fantasy is the genre that I love the most. It has a very, very special place in my heart. And honestly, sometimes it just hurts me to see that there are so many people out there who dismiss fantasy, and for some reason they think that it's a childish genre, or for whatever reason it is less than real fiction. Now, not all why am I doing this? Not all fantasy books are created equal, just like there are other fiction books that are not created equal. Some are better, some are more engaging, and some push boundaries. But in general, I really like fantasy because of the sense of freedom that it gives to discover different worlds and different themes. I love the magic. I love the sense of wonder. I love the sense of humor that some fantasy books have. And in general, I really appreciate fantasy because I feel that it makes us into children again. And there is nothing wrong with that. I am a grown-ass woman, and oh boy, do I like to read about fairies. Do I like to read about fairies with wings and big, strong... Yes, I do. Yes, I do, and I will not apologize for it. I'm getting really defensive here. Anyways, what is your favorite genre? What is it that you guys like to read the most? I always strive to try as many genres as I can, and even if I don't like them, that is perfectly fine. It's not a problem. At least I tried, you know, because I feel that when you dismiss certain genres, like this is what I always tell people who like completely dismiss fantasy and again, like, you know, just think that it's some kind of childish thing, is that if you dismiss books and dismiss genres and different worlds, I feel that the only person that you really hurt is yourself. Now I'm gonna go, guys, to wash this off because it's already been like, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes. And then I will be back and we will continue with the questions. Oh, guys, the camera turned off because it took me so long to get the thing off my face, my face wash that I use every single morning. It didn't get it off, so I had to go in with my favorite scrub. These are True and Tried, and I know that they work, but oh boy, to get this mask off my face, it was a chore. I don't think that it's going to work for the future. Next question. What are your thoughts on consuming books and sustainability? I love this question. And here's an announcement that I want to make, because this question reminded me that I always wanted to create video essays on my channel where I deep dive into certain topics, and for the longest time I've been wanting to talk about books and consuming books, you know, overconsumption, underconsumption, and I believe that this will be the first topic that I will discuss in the video essay series that I am creating. Currently, I planned 12 videos and I want to release them throughout the year, and books and consumption and sustainability will be the first one. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for this question and reminding me that I need to create these video essays. The next question is, how do you prioritize / decide what to read? That is easy to answer because no, it's actually not. This question is giving me anxiety. But the thing is that I can't. I am a mood reader, and it is just simply impossible for me to make a decision about what book I should read, what book should be the next. And that is why I always read multiple books at a time. Usually 4 to 5 books at the same time, because I just cannot make a decision. I don't know why this is, because I am not an indecisive person. I have made some pretty important and pretty tough decisions in my life, okay? But when it comes to books, what books to read and the order that I should use to read the books in, that is just something that is not working for me. I'm gonna put a second coat of this because my skin is so dry. I am sitting here all springy in these pajamas, and also like with the plants and everything in the background, it all looks like very springy. But guys, it is really winter outside. Currently the temperature is like around like -12 Celsius or whatever, and the wind is so strong. I am struggling. My skin is dry, my eyes are hurting because my eyes are dry. So, and that face mask, that didn't help the situation. So I am going to just put a second coat of this toner on, which is my all-time favorite toner, the best toner, oh my god, it feels so good, that I ever used in my life. I mean, since 2019, because I have been using this toner exclusively since 2019. Pyukangul, one of the best Korean brands out there. But that's enough skincare recommendations. Let's get back to the question. I feel that because reading is entertainment for me And because it's a hobby, I treat it very leisurely, and I don't usually stress myself out about, like, creating a priority list. What do you guys do? Are you guys mood readers, or do you guys come up with TBRs, monthly TBRs, seasonal TBRs that work for you? How do you prioritize what to read? I think I should actually learn how to prioritize what to read, so I wouldn't end up with like a 65 freaking books long physical TBR, Next question. When did you get into reading so much? Like, for example, you loved it since childhood and that blossomed gradually, or you got into it more in the last few years? Well, because I am an academic and I spent half of my life, more than half of my life, studying, and I am a nerd, people automatically think that I had a very organic love for books and for reading, and guys, that is not the case. It could not be further from the truth. I remember that as a kid, nobody could get me to sit down and read a book. The different reading lists, required reading lists that the schools created, oh my god, those were my enemy. After finishing high school, I went on to do my master's and my PhD degrees, and I was so burnt out because I had to process like easily like 50 to 60 books each semester, and it burnt me out. So when we got to the summer break, I just did not want to pick up a book. For a very long time, my academic studies completely destroyed reading for me. And after I finished my PhD, I moved to Australia, and there the situation got even more complicated because I couldn't really speak English. I couldn't read books in English, at least not from cover to cover. And those years were actually not easy for me, but I was patient, and slowly I learned the language and I was able to connect with literature again. And then in 2020, when life as we knew it exploded, like so many other people, I also rediscovered reading, and now I just cannot imagine my life without reading and life without books. Now my primary source of entertainment, it's always books, and that is why I read so many books in a year. I barely watch television. I barely stream anything. Maybe just the most favorite shows, but other than that, and sometimes documentaries, but other than that, it's always books. Now I just cannot imagine my life without books. How was it for you guys? Did you love reading since you were a kid? Or is it something that just gradually blossomed over the years? I really like that. That is just so nicely said. Gradually blossomed. I'm gonna go in with my serum, and I ran out of my vitamin C serum that I use every single morning, so now I'm just gonna use my favorite calming serum because, again, my skin is very dry and very red and I just hope that it's going to work. Okay, the next question. How does your professional work impact your reading choices and point of view? Well, I can easily answer that question because I can tell you that it makes me not want to read science in nonfictions, basically. When you are in academia, you constantly read published articles because you need to stay up to date. You need to understand what it is that's happening in your field. And also you read a lot of unpublished papers as a reviewer. And because of that, I am in a complete burnout when it comes to sciencey reading, and especially sciencey nonfictions. I don't know when was the last time when I read a sciencey nonfiction. Usually they also don't really entertain me. For whatever reason, I like to pick up sciencey books that are around medical science and biology, because that is my field, right? I don't understand chemistry, and I definitely don't understand physics, so let's not even go there. Sometimes it's hard for me even to understand science fiction, okay? But there is one sciencey non-fiction book recommendation that I want to give you guys, and I know that this is not a book recommendations video, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and that is Lifespan by David Sinclair. He is researching aging. He is a Harvard professor, I think. He is definitely located in Boston, and he is researching aging. And oh my God, this book, Lifespan, it is a life-changing, sciencey nonfiction book. It is very hard to please me, again, when it comes to sciencey nonfictions and biology. But this book blew my mind. It was so good. I highly, highly recommend that book. Now, it is not enough that sometimes, because of my job, I feel burnt out when it comes to nonfiction books. Sometimes I also don't really want to read these STEMinist books that are coming out, like for example, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, though that was actually a good book and I appreciated that book a lot. But like for example, when it comes to these Ellie Hazelwood STEMinist romance books, I don't really like them. You know, I don't need a reminder. This is something that is part of my everyday. I live this every day in my academic life. I just don't need a reminder. But I don't want to drag Ellie Hazelwood because I've read a couple of books by her. It's always a hit and miss. Like I reviewed, what was that book? Love Theoretically, and I think that that was actually a pretty good book, but I also DNF'd a couple of her other STEMinist fictions because let me tell you guys that it's just not it. I'm sorry, but it's just not it. Next question, what got you interested in becoming a booktuber and reading so much? Well, I love reading, I love books, I love talking about books, I love buying books. I always describe this condition as like borderline pathological, and there are no people in my personal life who understand this, or people who read what I read and the way that I read. So honestly, I was just looking for a community, and I know that the bookish people here on BookTube, they understand me when I talk about the differences between hardbacks and paperbacks. You guys understand why it is important to have a floppy paperback. You guys understand when I say that it is important that the paper in the book has a certain thickness. You guys get it, but other people in my personal life, they think that I'm just insane. And just like I said earlier in the video, for a very long time I dismissed the idea of having my own booktube channel. I consumed booktube since 2019, I would say 2019, 2020. And I wanted to create my own channel, but I was afraid. Again, I just thought that I wouldn't be good at it, and I thought that I didn't have the personality, and I certainly didn't have the courage. But the idea just kept creeping up on me, and then I decided, you know, just to have some faith in myself, and I decided to do it. And if I remember correctly, it was like I already had the idea in my mind, but it was my sister who suggested, like, you know, you love reading so much, and just like go and do something with yourself, you know? I am still learning when it comes to my channel and when it comes to this platform, and I never want to stop learning. I never want to stop progressing. I love YouTube, and honestly, when I objectively look at my booktube journey, I am so happy that I started and having YouTube and booktube in my life and you guys in my life. it is such a positive thing. And again, just like I said, I can only repeat myself at this stage. I am just so grateful for this opportunity to be here and talk to you guys about books. I'm not gonna put sunscreen on because there is absolutely no way that I am going outside in this wind and in this temperature. But what I'm going to put on my face is a little bit of makeup because I still want to look good. I still want to look cutesy. All right, next question. Just said a little bit, this was a bad idea. What was it like starting to read books in your second language? I am originally from Bosnia, Croatia, but moved to Canada when I was 4. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I have barely been able to read in my native language and literally struggle to read children's books in my mother tongue, but I want to get better. It would be a dream to read Croatian, Bosnian authors. Aww. Well, let me tell you that it was tough. It was really tough to learn reading in English. I didn't speak it at all for a couple of years. I mean, I was able to communicate, but I was not at an advanced level, so I just couldn't read books without the help of a dictionary cover to cover. And I don't really like to read children's books or middle grade or even YA at this stage of my life, so I really struggled with it for a while, for a couple of years. I remember I had to compromise, and the very first book that I read in English, because the language and the writing was so easy, that was the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. I remember first I actually listened to the audiobook, and then I felt, empowered enough to read the physical books, and then I slowly just picked up the language. Everybody around me spoke in English, so it was easy to eventually pick up the language. And then I started reading more and more complicated books. Here are my recommendations for this situation. First of all, I think the most important thing is that you need to be patient with yourself, and you also need to have some compassion for yourself. Learning another language, especially when you are an adult, it is not easy. I also think that audiobooks help because listening is always easier than reading. Of course, it depends on the language, but I feel like especially when it comes to English and learning English as a second language, listening in general is easier than reading. And if you specifically want to read adult books because you don't want to read middle grade and you don't want to read YA, I get that. Try to read adult books that are so easily, like borderline primitively written, that you can read them. And I cannot believe that I am suggesting / recommending these books in my video. You guys cannot come for me, because this is never going to happen again. But for example, there are some adult writers out there who just write as children, like for example Frida McFadden, that's for example, or like, even if you try to pick up like really popular books like 50 Shades of Grey or like Colin Hoover, like it physically pains me to suggest to read from these authors, but the writing style is so easily, and everything in the books just like flows so easily that it's just not complicated to follow the story. And usually they don't have very complicated structures for their sentences, and they also use words that you use in your everyday life, so it's just easier to understand those books. I am not trying to bash those people here who love Frida McFadden or Colin Hoover, or who was the writer of 50 Shades of Grey? I have no idea. I read a Colin Hoover book. I tried to read Frida McFadden, and I read 50 Shades of Grey. Just just don't understand why they are so popular. Maybe it is because they are easy and safe. What do you guys think? Do you guys have a couple of other authors in your mind that you could recommend as just like, you know, very easy read? I am just putting on a blurring primer, by the way, because again, I am staying at home. I am not going to put on a foundation or a BB cream, CC cream, whatever. And sometimes even when I go to work, I just put on a blurring primer when my skin is looking good. That's my little makeup hack for today. Not that I have the right to talk about makeup because I am not a makeup girly. Once I am done, I think that the makeup usually comes together very nicely, but when it comes to the individual products and the individual applications, I am not the best at it, but I am learning because lately I've been enjoying playing with makeup. Next question, do you notice a big difference reading in your native language? Oh, yes, because Hungarian and English are two so wildly different languages. And I'm not just talking about the fact that Hungarian is a very phonetic language, because when it comes to specifically reading, I don't think it matters that much, but the sentences are constructed very differently. Hungarian is a lot more flexible when it comes to grammar and how especially the sentences are constructed. The number of words in Hungarian and the number of expressions that we use, it's actually crazy. I have to focus on these guys for a second. Okay, I'm back. I just discovered tubing mascaras, and honestly, they changed my life. Where was I? Oh yeah, what I wanted to say is that because the two languages are so insanely different, it is really hard to translate anything from Hungarian to English and vice versa. Trust me, I've been there. I had to do it many times in my life and it was not easy. I mean, translation itself is not easy. It's definitely an art. But when you talk about these two, again, wildly different languages, it's actually pretty complicated. Now, I would love to recommend some of my favorite Hungarian books to you guys to read, but the thing is that they don't really get translated, and the ones that are translated, I don't know how good they are because I never read them in English. That would be actually such an interesting video idea to try to compare the translated version of my favorite Hungarian books. All right, now we are done with the bookish questions, and you guys also wanted to know a little bit about me. First, you guys wanted to know what it is that I do for a living, and many of you already know, but many of you don't, that I am a scientist. I am a medical scientist. I am into biology. When it comes to sciences, biology is the only thing that I can do. Again, chemistry, oh my god, I am so stupid when it comes to chemistry, and when it comes to physics, it's insane. Like sometimes when I don't understand science fiction movies or books, oh my god, I cannot believe that I'm a scientist. I'm like so stupid. But not when it comes to biology or medical sciences in general. I always wanted to be a medical scientist. Actually, I remember, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember I was still like a very little kid and I was asking for a toy microscope for Christmas, and my mom, like we were so poor growing up, but my mom made it a possibility for me, and for one Christmas I did indeed receive a toy microscope, and look at me now. I am grown and I am still in love with biology. I am one of those rare people, maybe I should say blessed and fortunate people, who love their jobs. I love my job. I love science. I also really like my colleagues, and I also really like the people that I work for. I know that it is very rare, and again, it's not something that I take for granted. And the last question that you guys asked me, it was about immigration. Like, when did you decide to move abroad? And I think I already mentioned it in this video, though it's hard to remember because sometimes I just yap a lot and I say a lot of random things. But I think I said it in this video that after I finished my PhD, I moved to Australia specifically, and I lived there for a very, very long time. I fully immigrated to Australia, and then I moved to the US, and now I am fully immigrated to the United States. Yes, I have been all over the world, but I love every single country that I was fortunate enough to be the part of, and I adore the United States. I love the United States. I love living here. I love working here. I mean, what not to love? What not to love about Boston? Guys, I think I answered all of your questions. Now let me know in the comments below if I missed something, or if you have some other questions for me. I will try my best to answer them. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Check out a couple of my other videos that I will leave on the screen for you, here and here. And I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye!